In a bold assertion of state authority, Governor Gavin Newsom announced an unprecedented legal campaign this week, positioning California at the forefront of resistance against federal economic policy. As the nation's fifth-largest economy confronts growing uncertainty emanating from Washington, the governor framed his actions as a necessary response to what he termed executive overreach. California's economic footprint is unparalleled among U.S. states. Home to more than 39 million residents, the state combines the populations of 21 smaller states and ranks as the world's fifth-largest economy. Its manufacturing sector alone generates $412 billion in annual output, 41% more than that of Texas, making California the nation's predominant engine of industrial production. Yet, President Donald Trump's recent trade measures have placed this prosperity at risk. A combination of tariffs, increased federal levies, and de facto sales tax hikes has cast a shadow over markets nationwide. Within hours of the administration's announcements, retirement portfolios tumbled, the Nasdaq suffered a notable decline, and leading Californian innovator Nvidia absorbed a $5.5 billion charge linked directly to policy-driven toxic uncertainty. In response, California filed its 15th lawsuit under the premise that the president lacks unilateral authority to impose such broad tariffs. Relying on the major questions doctrine, a judicial framework reinforced by the Supreme Court's recent invalidation of Biden's student loan forgiveness and the Obama-era Clean Power Plan, the state argues that Congress never explicitly authorized these specific trade restrictions under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Governed by campaign promises of relief for struggling Americans, President Trump ran on grievances over soaring rents, grocery bills. Yet, once in office, the administration initiated a trade war that simultaneously drove up consumer prices and eroded the value of retirement savings. A move many Californians feel amounts to a betrayal of his own constituents. Nowhere is this sense of betrayal more pronounced than in California's Central Valley. There, generational almond farms face existential peril as export-dependent operations, spanning almonds, pistachios, and dairy see nearly 43% of their revenue tied to foreign markets. One grower confided that decades of careful relationship building have begun to unravel, with alternative buyers permanently filling the void left by American producers. The reach of federal policy extends beyond agriculture into the heart of regional manufacturing. In the Baja California-San Diego superregion, decades-old supply chains for automobiles, aerospace components, and consumer electronics have been dismantled almost overnight. Governor Newsom warned that trust, the currency underpinning every commercial partnership, has been compromised, and that even if tariffs are later rescinded, international buyers will have found new suppliers. Recognizing the geopolitical implications, California has undertaken its own outreach to key allies. A $5.2 million investment in Canada last year underscored the state's independent stance. We're not Florida. We're not Washington, D.C., officials declared, reaffirming California's identity as a reliable partner in global trade and diplomacy despite federal policy turbulence. At home, critical checks and balances appear under siege. Congressional leaders, including Speaker Mike Johnson, have shown scant appetite for intervention, while the White House openly defies a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court order to return Kilmoreo Garcia to the United States. Legal experts contend that the president's refusal to comply with such an unequivocal ruling represents an unprecedented challenge to the separation of powers and heightens the risk of a sustained constitutional crisis. California's response, Newsom asserts, is not only defensive but foundational. If we allow court orders to be ignored, he argued, we undermine the very essence of American governance. The state's intervention thus serves both to protect its economy and to uphold the rule of law in a period marked by relentless political polarization. Parallel to these federal confrontations, the governor emphasized the necessity for the state's democratic leadership to deliver tangible results. Citing Ezra Klein's recent work on governmental efficacy, Newsom acknowledged widespread frustration over stalled infrastructure projects. Notably, the high-speed rail line between Merced and Bakersfield, a scaled-down iteration of the original Los Angeles-San Francisco vision. Decades of environmental analyses and legal challenges have finally cleared the way. California has secured 2,270 property parcels, completed environmental reviews and plans to begin laying tracks later this year on America's inaugural true high-speed rail system. Such progress complements California's broader status as an innovation powerhouse. 71% of US GDP growth emanates from counties that lean Democratic, with California alone contributing $83.1 billion more to federal coffers than it receives, surpassing Texas by $12 billion. The state boasts more Nobel Prize winners, researchers, and R&D investment than any other, accounting for 18% of global research activity and nurturing over 100 unicorn companies valued above $1 billion. Yet, scaling these achievements requires cutting through entrenched regulatory barriers. To that end, Newsom has signed 42 reform bills aimed at streamlining approvals and accelerating progress in areas like green energy, a sector he views as critical for transitioning away from fossil fuels and sustaining California's high-tech economy. Perhaps no industry exemplifies California's blend of cultural and economic influence more than entertainment. Once the undisputed capital of film and television production, Los Angeles has witnessed a steady exodus of projects to rival jurisdictions offering aggressive tax incentives, from Georgia and New York to Canada's Ontario and British Columbia. Empty sound stages now dot once bustling studio lots, while local technicians, set designers, and caterers seek work as far afield as Vancouver. In response, the governor has unveiled a bold package to revive film production. Over the next decade, California proposes to double its film tax credit, complemented by legislative funding requests running into the billions. This initiative already delivered a record 51 production grants last quarter, with revised application rules designed to benefit the entire ecosystem, from unionized laborers to small business vendors. Partnerships with industry unions such as the Teamsters will underscore the state's commitment to restoring its creative hub status. As California charts this multifaceted strategy, combining litigation, diplomacy, regulatory reform, and targeted incentives, its leaders position the state as a bulwark against federal policy missteps and a proving ground for progressive governance. In the governor's words, this is code red. We must defend our economy, our democratic institutions, and our capacity to deliver for every Californian. The coming months will test whether these efforts can indeed secure California's economic future and reaffirm the rule of law at a critical juncture in American history.